The following is a DW Ancient Egypt production. In the last episode, we discussed an introduction to ancient Egypt and reviewed the chronological timeline. In this episode, we'll focus on the stages of prehistory that involve the Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic ages. Here, we begin at the beginning. The topics of this episode include the study of prehistory and how it began, the Paleolithic Age, the Mesolithic Age, and the Neolithic Age. Prehistory, which means before history or before the invention of writing, does not encompass the entire world simultaneously. It varies depending on the culture and its relative term. In the case of Egypt, for example, the introduction of writing around 3200 BC marks the end of its prehistoric period. Therefore, prehistoric Egypt refers to the time before 3200 BC. The study of prehistory and how it began. Prehistory is divided into three main ages: the Paleolithic, the Old Stone Age, when humans lived as hunter-gatherers; the Mesolithic, a transitional stage; and the Neolithic, the New Stone Age, when the domestication of plants and animals began. The scientific study of prehistory is relatively recent. Prior to its emergence, people relied on the Bible to estimate the passage of time. In the 17th century, Bishop Ussher used the Bible and genealogies to determine that the world began in 4004 BC. Bibles during that time included this chronological background in the margins, allowing readers to follow the timeline while reading the book of Genesis. Bishop Ussher's colleagues later refined the calculations and pinpointed a specific date of October 23, 4004 BC, at 9 in the morning. Even Isaac Newton, the inventor of calculus, believed in this date. Newton also criticized the Egyptians for extending their history far beyond. The scientific study of prehistory began in 1859 with two specific events that challenged the creationist perspective. Excavations in England revealed Stone Age tools alongside the remains of extinct animals, suggesting that prehistory extended far beyond Ussher's calculations. Additionally, Charles Darwin's publication of The Origin of Species proposed the concept of evolution, which had a profound impact on the scientific community and laid the foundation for the study of prehistory. The estimated age of humans, known as hominids, is approximately 2 million years, but this is considerably shorter compared to the estimated age of the Earth, around 4.5 billion years. To comprehend 2 million years of human history, it is divided into distinct historical ages: the Old Stone Age, the Middle Stone Age, and the New Stone Age. This is the Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic ages. In Greek, paleo means old, lithos means stone. Meso means middle, and neo means new. Exploring these ages in greater detail provides a deeper understanding. The Paleolithic Age. The Paleolithic, or Old Stone Age, consisted of several stages: the Early Paleolithic Age, the Early Middle Paleolithic Age, the Late Middle Paleolithic Age, and the Late Paleolithic Age. The Early Paleolithic Age spanned from 700,000 to 70,000 BC and was inhabited by Homo erectus. In relation to ancient Egypt, the Nile River Valley was initially settled around 700,000 BC by people who likely migrated from the south when the climate was favorable. At that time, the region was lush and supported a diverse fauna similar to the Serengeti Plain. The early human inhabitants of this period used language, practiced gathering food, controlled fire, and relied on a single tool, the hand axe. The hand axe was intentionally crafted to fit comfortably in the hand, specifically designed for smashing objects softer than itself. This intentional tool, dating back to 700,000 BC, holds the distinction of being the oldest tool in human history. Notably, progress during this era was slow. Unlike today's rapid advancements in technology, the hand axe remained the only tool for 500,000 years. Around 70,000 BC, during the early Middle Paleolithic Age, a significant transition occurred with the appearance of Neanderthals. Contrary to popular belief, Neanderthals were not brutish savages. They buried their dead, cared for the injured and elderly, and developed more sophisticated flaking techniques for toolmaking. They crafted specialized tools such as scrapers for scraping and daggers for cutting meat. Many of these items have been discovered in the Egyptian desert, providing further evidence of climatic changes. Around 43,000 BC, during the late Middle Paleolithic Age, Homo sapiens emerged, marking the beginning of modern humans and the replacement of Neanderthals, although the specifics of this transition are still debated. In relation to Egyptians, these people settled near lakes and relied on mollusks and shellfish as part of their diet. Lake Tana in Ethiopia, which contributes to the Nile River, played a significant role during this period, causing flooding and inundation. Archaeological evidence suggests that groups of approximately 25 to 50 people lived together at a time. The life expectancy during this era was less than 30 years, illustrating the conditions of life in prehistoric times. During the late Paleolithic Age, spanning from 30,000 to 10,000 BC, humans began to inhabit areas near swamps. Malaria became a prevalent issue, and the Nile River started to experience drying periods. Settlements featured clay hearths for cooking, grindstones for processing wild cereal grains, and pigments for eye makeup. However, farming and cattle breeding had not yet been established. Tools during this period were made from materials such as quartz, diorite, flint, and obsidian. The sickle, a crescent-shaped tool used for harvesting crops, was developed during this era. It is important to note that the sickle was used for intensively caring for wild grains rather than planting crops. Additionally, the bow and arrow were introduced during this time, revolutionizing hunting methods. The bow was the first weapon in history that stored energy, and the arrowheads used with it required a significant level of skill to produce. Archaeologists discovered small arrowheads known as microtools in Kom Ombo, Egypt, which were used for hunting birds and were the size of a thumbnail. Interestingly, during the late Paleolithic Age, the sickle disappeared for a couple of thousand years for reasons that remain unknown. Two prevailing theories suggest that the ease of hunting with the bow and arrow reduced reliance on wild crops, or that crop failures led to the decline of harvesting activities. The definitive cause of the sickle's disappearance remains a mystery. The Mesolithic Age. The Mesolithic period in ancient Egypt represents a crucial phase of cultural transition between the Paleolithic and Neolithic eras. Spanning roughly from 10,000 to 5,000 BC, this era witnessed significant changes in human settlement patterns, subsistence strategies, technological advancements, and social structures. The transition from the Paleolithic to the Mesolithic period in Egypt was marked by significant environmental changes. As the last ice age came to an end around 12,000 years ago, the climate in the region underwent a gradual shift towards increased aridity. The changing climatic conditions resulted in the expansion of the Sahara Desert, which had a profound impact on the availability and distribution of natural resources. The once green and fertile areas gave way to arid landscapes characterized by vast stretches of sand dunes and sparse vegetation. This shift towards a more arid environment meant that the resources upon which Paleolithic hunter-gatherer societies relied became increasingly scarce. Large game, such as mammoths and other megafauna, decreased in numbers or migrated to more hospitable regions. Similarly, the abundance of wild plant species and water sources diminished, forcing human communities to adapt their subsistence strategies. The emergence of the Sahara Desert also influenced settlement patterns during the Mesolithic period. As traditional habitats became inhospitable, human groups began to concentrate in areas that still provided access to vital resources, such as river valleys, oases, and coastal regions. These locations offered relatively more reliable sources of water, vegetation, and animal life, enabling Mesolithic communities to sustain their livelihoods. The environmental changes during this period necessitated adaptations in hunting, gathering, and fishing practices. Mesolithic populations had to develop new strategies to exploit the remaining resources and make efficient use of the limited available food sources. This led to innovations in toolmaking, as well as an increased reliance on fishing and gathering of small game, edible plants, and shellfish. The transition from the Paleolithic to the Mesolithic period in Egypt exemplifies the dynamic relationship between human societies and their environment. These adaptations set the stage for the cultural developments and transformations that would occur during the Mesolithic period and beyond. The Mesolithic Egyptians expanded their fishing activities, utilizing hooks, harpoons, and nets made from organic materials such as bone, wood, and plant fibers. These advancements in fishing technology facilitated the exploitation of aquatic resources and enhanced their subsistence strategies. The Mesolithic period acted as a transitional phase, paving the way for the Neolithic Revolution in Egypt. The changes in subsistence strategies, technological advancements, and cultural expressions laid the foundation for the shift towards settled agriculture and the emergence of complex societies. The Neolithic Age. The Neolithic Age, which spanned from 5000 to 3000 BC, marked the emergence of organized societies along the Nile River in Egypt. During this period, significant advancements in technology took place, with pottery playing a central role. The development of pottery allowed for various practical uses, including cooking food, processing grains, and even brewing beer. This newfound ability to cook food in pots revolutionized their culinary practices. Villages began to form along the Nile River, accommodating a population of approximately 100 to 150 individuals. With the establishment of these settlements, a division of labor emerged, introducing skilled workers as toolmakers, bakers, brewers, and potters. Interestingly, despite the creation of villages along the Nile, the overall population remained relatively small, estimated at around 2,000 people for the entire region. These villages also gave rise to political structures, resulting in the division of the region under the rule of a king in the north and another in the south. This period marked the Neolithic period in Egypt. It is worth noting that in Egypt, Upper Egypt was geographically located below Lower Egypt. This positioning is due to the direction of the Nile, which flows from south to north. Consequently, traveling up the Nile referred to moving south. Although the Egyptians had boats throughout their history, they were not skilled sailors and preferred to stay on land due to the predictable behavior of the Nile River. The constant southward wind and northward flow of the Nile allowed for convenient travel by floating north and sailing south. However, during the New Kingdom, when Egypt developed its own navy, sailors had to acquire proper maritime skills once they ventured into the Mediterranean Sea. Towards the end of the Neolithic period, burial practices evolved, and people began interring their dead in sandpit burials in the desert. These sandpit burials likely served as the origins of mummification. Burials often included personal possessions, suggesting a belief in the afterlife among the early Egyptians. During this period, carved palettes started to be used for grinding cosmetics. Some palettes displayed decorative art and whimsical animal motifs, indicating the growing artistic and cultural expressions of the society. Additionally, clay figurines, particularly those depicting women with wide hips, were crafted, potentially serving as fertility symbols. The exact purpose of these figurines remains uncertain. In the later stages of the Neolithic period, pottery began to exhibit decorative elements. Pottery holds immense archaeological significance as it provides valuable dating information for the excavations. Due to its durability, pottery fragments endure over time in various soil conditions. Archaeologist Sir Flinders Petrie pioneered the study of pottery and observed that the complexity of pottery decoration increased over time, allowing for relative dating of archaeological sites. Consequently, pottery became an essential tool for dating and understanding prehistoric periods where written records are absent. The Neolithic period in Egypt marked a pivotal moment in human history as the transition to agriculture and settled life laid the foundation for the development of complex societies. The advancements in agriculture, pottery, and cultural expressions during this era paved the way for the emergence of ancient Egyptian civilization. A podcast series is available for download at dwworldhistory.com. Here you will also find detailed outlines for each episode with additional resource material, maps, and bibliographies. Please remember to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our channel on YouTube.